Crystal Tower information, Whiskey 2153 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, this is departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nancy 53 on over tower, roger, turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Archer 71143, flying flag, runway 28 left, quick takeoff, left hand southbound first.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure on your flight.
Attention aviators. If you're passionate about flying, you need to check out Pilot Quarters. They are a pilot-owned family business based right in the Midwest in Michigan. They are on a mission to create your next favorite flying shirt. From comfy camp shirts to stylish polo shirts, sundresses, and tees, Pilot Quarters crafts unique aviation apparel. Choose from full-color chart designs, subtle overlays, or even wild tropical pattern blends with your favorite charts. Elevate your style and aviation passion. Visit pilotquarters.com today and soar in style. Aviation friends, let me share with you an absolute game changer in eyewear. I am personally hooked on Flying Eyes optics. Their stylish designs pair seamlessly with your headset for superior comfort. I used to fly with those cheap gas station sunglasses, but since switching to Flying Eyes, I can't go back. They're sleek, durable, and way more comfortable. Trust me, your eyes deserve the upgrade. Check out our affiliate link in the show notes, and make sure you use code FlyingMidwest10 for an unbeatable 10% off your purchase at Flying Eyes. Fly with comfort, fly with style. Visit Flying Eyes Optics today. Let's talk about some of the best active noise reduction headsets on the market. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just taking flight lessons, Lightspeed Aviation headsets are engineered with you in mind every step of the way. They've created the quietest and most durable A&R headsets on the market. Their high quality and innovative technology ensures you stay comfortable, connected, and safe in the cockpit. I've personally flown with Lightspeed for over a decade, and I wouldn't dream of flying with any other headset. Elevate your flying experience with Lightspeed. Check out our affiliate link in the show notes so that you can support the podcast with your next purchase. Aviators gear up for the skies with Flying Midwest Podcast merch. Dive into our latest edition, the striking Ghost graphic designs, available in long-sleeve tees, sweatshirts, and hoodies, perfect for your winter flying adventures. Head over to flyingmidwest.com/merch today and snag some of the coolest gear in aviation. And now, an all-new episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. Welcome, everyone, to the Flying Midwest podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jim, and this is my co-host, Maddie. Hello, Maddie.
Hello.
And we're also happy to introduce a special guest host, the one and only Badger Pilot.
Hey, guys.
Da, 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 da.
Andrew, welcome to the Flying Midwest podcast once again. You've been a guest with us before. It was such a treat that we want you to come back on occasion and host with us. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I love listening to the podcast, and to be a part of it from time to time, it's going to be a real treat for me.
Us too.
And all of our listeners.
Maybe. Well, they'll be the judge of that. If we start getting hate mail, we'll know what the problem is, because we changed we changed the recipe a little bit. So no pressure.
We don't want to alienate our customers.
No pressure, Badger. So before we get too far into this, this episode I thought would be a good opportunity to bring you in because you are acquainted with our guest for this next episode. And for our listeners who listened to the last episode, I know that we said that we would have a really cool Thunderbird pilot on, and unfortunately there was a conflict with scheduling. So instead, you get to hear from a really cool couple out of Wisconsin from Badger's neck of the woods, Ed and Caitlin from the Flying Stampede.
Yeah, I had a chance to actually fly with Ed about a year ago. He was in the area. He came to Waukesha, and we stopped at Capitol and went up to Oshkosh one night, and he got a few stamps, which is the theme of his YouTube channel, the Flying Stampede, flying around Wisconsin and collecting his Wisconsin passport stamps, and ultimately working towards trying to get his coveted bomber jacket.
And you get that if you got all the stamps, right?
I don't
Or
think
a
it's
certain
all
number of
of
stamps?
It's pretty darn close to all of them. Yeah. Yeah, it has different tiers. If you get a certain amount, you get a t-shirt. The next level beyond that, you get a flight bag. And then what everybody goes for is the bomber jacket.
The holy grail, if you will, of Wisconsin aviation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Didn't Minnesota do that too?
Am I remembering right that one of your first episodes was somebody that did the passport program in a bunch of Midwest states?
I
Or
don't
am I getting podcast confused?
I know that one of our guests has done a lot of, like, he would do stamp collecting. That was the term he used. Does that sound familiar?
Maybe. You can cut all this out since I'm obviously way out of my league thinking of this.
There's a lot of guessing on our podcast.
I do a lot of podcast listening, and sometimes they get confused.
So let me ask you this question about your podcast listening. As you are aware, our good friend Maddie here doesn't listen to the podcast for reasons that we won't divulge because we don't want to embarrass her more than I just did. Since you're participating in the podcast, will you be listening to your own episodes, or will you forego? And also, will you be so ashamed of this podcast so you will tell no one that you're on it?
I've already told a few people that this was potentially going to be a thing. So a few people know I'll be on it, and of course I'll share it because that's what I do. I love the podcast, and I've been sharing it anyways. I will probably go back and listen to myself talk with a certain level of cringe behind it. Because like Maddie, I don't particularly like the sound of my own voice, but if I can pick up what I'm doing and not like what I'm hearing, which is usually the case, I know what to fix for next time.
You know, the other cool part of it is I'm doing the editing, so you have no control over how silly I make you sound.
No.
How about you tell us a little bit more about you?
We'll keep it aviation specific. I've been flying. Okay. I've been flying since 2020. I don't even remember when I started. Isn't that embarrassing? I've been flying.
If only there was like a book that you wrote stuff down in that would keep track of the flights that you've done.
Some sort of log.
A log, yeah, maybe. That's a cool art for it.
Yeah, a series of pages. Okay, it was 21.
Well, there you go.
Okay, and start over.
Oh, no, that whole bit needs to go in there. It's hilarious.
So I started seriously flying in spring of 2021 and finished up my private that winter and finished up my instrument rating last winter. And in the meantime, I've just been flying all over Wisconsin and the closer parts of the Midwest. And I'm currently working on my commercial rating, working as in I bought an online ground school and keep talking about starting my commercial, but haven't really, I keep dragging my feet on this one. Private and instrument were really exciting for me and a lot of fun. I don't know what it is about commercial that I'm dreading, but I do want to be a CFI at some point in the future. And so I know I have to get through commercial. So one of these days
It's the lazy eights, isn't it?
It's not even the lazy eights because it's a lazy maneuver. I'm a lazy guy. It's perfect. It works out great.
You were what this maneuver was made for.
Yes, exactly. Let the plane do all the work. You do as little as possible. I don't know what it is. I've been dragging my feet on this one. But in the meantime, I've been having fun flying all over the place, flying with my family and friends. Recently, I did the math, and almost 80% of my flying has been with somebody else in the plane. So I just love getting out and sharing aviation with other people, whether it's something that they do on a regular basis themselves or taking, my buddy's kid on their first flight ever.
Those are always cool. So you also have a YouTube channel. We kind of touched on a little bit, but tell us more about that.
I do. I record pretty much all of my flights now on video. Everything gets recorded for audio, at least. And I started doing it kind of as a debrief process for myself. And as I started seeing more aspects of my flying that I thought other people might be interested in, I decided to start editing videos, which I enjoy doing the editing process and putting them up on YouTube. And actually, I am launching a Patreon right now as well. It's not a money grab. I'm not looking for donations or anything. In fact, for starters, everything on the paid tiers is going to be also available for the free following or free membership or whatever they have. But just as a different venue so that people that want to watch my videos can watch them ad-free, because YouTube's putting ads on my videos now. So if you want to watch them ad-free, you can do it there. And in the meantime, I want to see if I can keep up with the paid subscription tiers before actually asking people to pay for them. So everything's free there right now.
That's cool.
Not to just throw my own shameless plug in there or anything, but
I did ask.
We did ask you about your YouTube channel.
Maddie, what do you want to ask the Badger pilot?
What do you like to do for fun besides flying airplanes? People want to know.
That was the answer.
That was the answer.
That's
flying airplanes.
Too bad. You've got to have at least one like kooky little thing that you like to do.
Okay, I like.
You're in Midwesterner.
Okay, beyond flying airplanes, I like talking about airplanes. I like going to the airport and looking at airplanes. I like telling my friends about airplanes.
Do you by chance watch videos about airplanes?
I do. I do watch videos about airplanes. Yeah, I listen to podcasts about airplanes.
Oh, thanks for doing that, by the way.
What do I do outside of aviation that's fun? Well, truthfully, most of my
It
time...
doesn't have to be fun. It just has to be something you do.
Oh, well, being a parent definitely takes up most of my time, and that is enjoyable, of course. My kids are very active in a wide variety of sports, and so I'm often up in actually Jim's area, up in the Twin Cities area for hockey tournaments for my older daughter, and my younger daughter is doing gymnastics and cheer and dance and now volleyball, and so a lot of busy weekends of just being all over the place. A lot of miles on my truck.
You have very well-rounded children.
Yes. They're smart, at least smarter than me, and they're definitely better looking than me too, so they get all of that from
everything a parent could hope
They get all of that from their mother.
Aw.
I think what we'll do now is let this podcast kind of devolve a little bit into nonsense and shenanigans.
I listened to my first podcast almost ever. And it was Fly the Transition.
Right. Wasn't even this one.
No, because if it's this one, I have to hear myself talk, and I don't want that.
You know, it's really not so bad.
No, it is.
It's not,
I can't do it. I hate hearing myself talk. Personal problem. I can't do it. I cannot
easy
get over
joke
it.
here is we also hate hearing you talk, but I don't believe
not me. You said it.
Okay, bye.
I don't
leaving
really
the
think
chat.
that. I said the easy joke is ...
I know, but you said it too honestly.
Well,
okay.
The solution to this is to listen to yourself talk, knowing that you hate yourself talk, and if you can stand what you're listening to, then you know it's a quality product. That's how I do my YouTube channel.
Well, I don't have to, so I don't, and then I say dumb things, and then I cry a lot about it.
But then I sent it to you anyways as the bloopers for your approval
I know,
before I
and
submit the bloopers.
Those were for approval? I thought you just sent them. Just for
No, because sometimes you say, hey, I'm swearing. Could you make me not swear? Because my mom listens. And I go, okay.
It's true.
There are some...
That is 100% going in this podcast episode right there.
Are we even doing a podcast?
No, I swear.
Not on purpose.
This is the intro.
Podcast on accident.
This is how you introduce me, and I don't even know I'm being introduced. This is fantastic.
Ed and Caitlin, we recorded in June also, but we had all this Oshkosh content that we pushed out before them. So
sure. Well, I'm sure Ed's
very
journey already.
How can he forget the experience of talking to us?
He saw us at Oshkosh. That was the last thing that he did. So,
all right, he was part of the Flying Midwest groupies. So
yes,
that's true.
Spearheaded by the Badger pilot.
Yeah, I felt like I was like that puppy that just sort of follows you around and just every now and then you throw a treat my way, and so I keep following you.
But look what it's gotten you.
Yeah.
You got a seat at the table tonight.
You're trained.
Yeah,
this is it. You're trained.
Yeah.
This is what the housebroken Badger pilot gets to do. You get to sit at the table with us. I think this podcast is about to get a lot funnier.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I don't think there is anything to
just
say.
leave a litter box in the corner for me. I'll be fine.
You're a housebroken Badger.
There you go.
Do badgers use litter boxes? Yes, they do now.
This one does, apparently.
Yeah.
You just asked for one.
That could have just been
The amount of
on the
shenanigans and nonsense in the last 5 minutes.
You're going to have a lot of trouble. You're already getting behind schedule on your episodes. I know you are. With your recording, you're going to have a lot of trouble whittling all this down, I think. You know, my wife had a great point
Advice.
when I was on for the Oshkosh episode, or sorry, the Air Venture episode.
You call it whatever you want. Yeah. We're not here to
She had a
judge.
good point. We were all aiding on all these other states, and we never
That's what we do.
we never came to the mutual agreement that should have automatically been brought to, and that's everybody hates Illinois.
Well, okay.
You know, like,
I have a lot of family from Illinois.
The Illinois
I
brothers.
have-
That's
I
what
have family
FIB
from
stands
Illinois
for.
too. Yeah, friendly Illinois brothers. Yeah, exactly. We learned.
And nothing else. It doesn't stand for anything else.
Or is that what Ed said was? Or flying Illinois buddies or something like that?
That's what Ed said. That's funny.
Am I missing something? I think I'm missing something.
The joke is it's Illinois bastards, which won't go in the podcast.
Oh,
That's what it
I've
is.
never heard that before.
So
You've never
people
heard that?
in people call people from Illinois.
I was a little
and that's-
sheltered as a child.
You
And I'm
also
pretty
didn't
sure
grow
I
up in,
never
like,
heard that
Milwaukee.
because, huh?
You grew up in Prior Lake, not Milwaukee. You didn't have Illinois like breathing down your neck.
All right.
That's true.
Now-
We liked Illinois. We went there willingly because we have family there. So, well, I learned something today. It wasn't what I wanted to learn, but I did learn something.
I just realized, by the way, I still have all my weird lighting going on my lights. I don't need lighting. There, now I can see again.
Yeah, you do whatever you want, man.
This is an audio podcast.
This is for the most part a safe space.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how this video stuff works.
Once again,
I'm used to video
this
formats.
is an audio format. I know you
It's
are.
true.
I'm used to video.
We'll get
We're
you
still
there.
going to make
Just-
fun of you, though.
Just hang in there, buddy. We got you.
Because now
We're
I'm
not gonna
looking
get you
like
straight.
my hat is messing with the shading and
It's not though, because it says no one can see you.
You're like 8 pixels for me anyway, so it doesn't matter. At least to me.
perfect.
You know You know what does mess up an audio podcast though? Messing with your headphones the whole time.
I'm sure that was just wonderful for you guys just now.
These moments of comedy are brought to you by us trying to teach Better Pilot how to move from video to audio. You too can be successful in the audio realm, my friend. I have faith in you.
We'll see. I have a face for radio, a voice for print, and handwriting for medicine,
Perfect.
so we'll be good to go.
You're gonna fit in just fine here.
God! Jeez.
Well, since we spent too much time goofing off, we don't have time for news and events this episode. So, Maddie, should we jump into our guest for this episode?
I think we should. On this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast, we would love to introduce Ed and Caitlin from the Flying Stampede.
So this actual interview is back from June. We did a bunch of interviews over the summer before Air Venture, and this is one of them. So yet another interview with Trevor present with us for the interview portion. So sit back and welcome Caitlin and Ed to the Flying Midwest podcast. Well, Ed, Caitlin, welcome to the Flying Midwest podcast. We're happy to have you back on.
Happy to be on. Yeah, happy to be back.
So you two have this little YouTube channel called the Flying Stampede. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but you two have listened to the podcast before. You know the drill. It's time for the Fast 5 questions to get us rocking and rolling here. I'm trying to decide how we want to do this. Do we want to do this like in the stylings of Family Feud, where you like, we don't have a buzzer for you to hit though, to see who has the best answer. If we asked 100 pilots why Brian Turner is your favorite YouTuber, what's your answer? And there's the plug for this episode. Anyway, you both can answer the questions. We'll just take turns, or if you want to copy off each other's answers and make the other go first and copy that, we don't care. Just however you want to do it.
Shout it out at the same time.
All right.
At the same time. It releases a
Yeah,
lot
just
of
yell
stress.
over each other. Yeah. Consider this your couples therapy, aviation couples therapy. Just yell your answers at each other. All right.
Doing the cock. No.
There you go. Well, enough screwing around, sorry. Question number 1. Favorite Midwest airport?
Oh,
Washington Island. Yeah, Washington Island.
no conflict.
Yep.
Aww.
Oh, it's like that couples game where they write their, that's what we should have done. Write your answer on a sheet of paper, and then on the count of 3, we'll see if they match.
1 for 5 so far.
Yeah, you're doing good.
Yeah, we did do a great video from the Flying Stampede. Going to Door County and Washington Island was just beautiful. Grass landing strip. They have bikes there. And there was no one else there. We had the whole airport to ourselves.
Oh, wow. Well, question number 2. Least favorite aviation movie?
Oh man, that's an easy one. That's A Wing and a Prayer. That was by far the dumbest movie. Might be one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen.
I can't say I didn't spend the time to watch that. My least favorite is Alive, and I'll explain. It's a great movie, great movie based on a true story. But that's really hard to watch people be stranded after an air crash. Like, that was just, scary.
Yep.
For an aviation enthusiast.
I feel like On a Wing and a Prayer got created simply for pilots to rag on.
It was just so bad from the very beginning when they're doing the landing as a student pilot. And it's I've never seen a student pilot ever do that. And I'm not a flight instructor by any means, but I've never seen anyone land an airplane that bad.
So the airport I fly out of is Anoka County Blaine Airport. Just stop by and you can see it. I'll put on a show. Dream aircraft to own, and the money is not an issue. Whatever aircraft you want, dream aircraft.
For me, it'd probably be Cessna Caravan.
Okay, Caitlin.
Yeah.
Utility.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I love our plane. I love our Piper Pacer, so I'm happy with what we have. I feel like we're very lucky to have what we have. So I'm gonna stick with old Stampy, we like to refer to her as. So.
I love that so much. That's so cute.
Question number 4. Who is your favorite YouTube content creator that is not the Flying Stampede?
Well, for me, the reason why is this guy really put a spark back into me wanting to get back into aviation, but Trent Palmer, he's kind of the one that got me back into aviation when I was, he got me back into aviation when I was not even thinking about doing it.
I would agree. Watching those videos are a lot of fun too.
He's got some pretty good production quality too. So, question number 5. If you could meet and have a conversation with any aviator, dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh. For me, it would be Harrison Ford, because he's an aviator and I'm a big Star Wars nerd, so getting to talk to him about Star Wars and aviation, I feel like kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
That's a really unique answer.
My conversation with an aviator, I'm going to go pretty mainstream here with Amelia Earhart, because I would love to know what happened. There is a mystery there. Of course, women in aviation, just that conversation, but what happened?
Yeah. Some solid answers across the board, you two. Congratulations. You scored all the points, but you still win.
We're not getting kicked off.
You're not getting kicked off the podcast, and your prize is you get to keep talking to us. So,
great!
Congratulations.
We feel like winners.
I don't know if that's a praise or a curse.
No, it's a prize. It's a prize for sure. We're a real treat.
There's no trap door under us.
No trap door. We don't play that dirty. So, how about we jump in and chat with us a bit about your background in aviation?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with mine. So, I grew up mainly in the Chicago area, and probably started getting into aviation a lot like what most of us have, is watching Top Gun. So I used to watch Top Gun with my dad all the time, and we would sit there in front of the TV and blast the stereo as loud as we could and build little plastic models. And, it was just something that I always loved. And my dad was kind of like my biggest supporter, and would be the one that would always take me near O'Hare Airport to watch the airplanes land and take off, and watch all of the different types of TV shows about aviation and things like that. And so we actually had a summer home near Oshkosh, and surprisingly, we never went to the big show, but once in a while we go to the EAA museum. And so I took my first flight ever as a young eagle there at the museum there in Oshkosh in a Glass Star when I was 14. And later on, I got to fly their Travel Air, and one of the pilots was actually nice enough to let me fly the Ford Trimotor when I was there. So I got to do some cool stuff when I was a kid, and that was kind of what turned me on to wanting to become an airline pilot. So I started taking lessons at DuPage Airport. I would work literally all week as a pharmacy tech at the local Walgreens. So that way I could take flying lessons on the weekends.
Huh, that's kind of an interesting parallel.
I was going to say, Trevor, do you have anything to say about that?
Are you a Walger also?
Yeah, part-time. Very part-time.
Is that a formal term, a Walger?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Well, at least in my parts it was, in the Chicago area.
In fact, I just got done working there tonight.
Oh,
so
there you go.
Yeehaw.
got to pay for the gas.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, so I sold it in 2002, and it was nice to finally get the instructor out of the airplane. And my flight instructor was awesome. We would always do like weird things. So like rather than spend a couple of days doing touch and goes, getting landings done, so he's like, well, how about we go over to Midway and do touch and goes at Midway. And then one day we went to Meigs Field. So we got to go to Meigs Field. I got to take my dad with me, and he got to sit in the back of the airplane while we went to Meigs Field. So my dad was always, like I said, one of my biggest supporters. So shortly after I sold and started, my dad, he was really sick. He was an alcoholic, and his health turned for the worse, and unfortunately he passed away. So it was kind of like my biggest supporter in my aviation journey was no longer there for me, and I kind of got a bit of a rut, and actually never went back to it after that. So aviation kind of got pushed back to the list of my priorities as a kid, and I got into like racing cars and many other dumb things that we did when we were young. So later in life, I met someone, her name was Amy, and then it got pushed back even further because then I was dating and things started to get more serious, and we were trying to plan a life together and get married and that. And so it just happened that one day we got to take a flight together when we were passing Pewaukee Airport in the Chicagoland area. So I got to take her for a flight, and obviously it was something that probably seemed like it impressed her. So we eventually did get married. So when people say that, being in aviation and being a pilot, it does get you the girls, right? So
Guilty.
Right? So we eventually, we got married. And as a wedding present, she wanted me to finish my private pilot's license because she saw how much it meant to me and all that. Well, I said, let's get a house first. Let's get settled and start our family before we do anything like that because it's expensive. But shortly after that, so Amy was born with like a congenital heart defect. While we were married, she had 2 heart transplants. And during her second one that she needed, unfortunately, she passed away from it. So, so now I was really, really lost. I was in my mid-30s. I just started a marriage, and then now I lost my spouse. And, being 35, 36 years old, there aren't books and websites and resources for people my age on how to deal with losing a spouse. It's mostly for people that are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and that's, so I was pretty lost at that point in my life, and I had no idea what my life was going to look like going forward. So that's when I was bored, started going back on YouTube again, and I realized that there's a lot more on YouTube than crazy cat videos. And that's when I started fighting people like Trent Palmer and Corey Robin and all these guys doing all these fun things with these cool tail draggers. And not only was it therapeutic for me to start watching people do fun things with aviation, it also lit that fire back inside of me. So I started taking lessons close to home at Lake in the Hills Airport, and I met a really cool flight instructor named Joe. He owns a flight school called Pilot Flight Training Courses at Lake in the Hills, and he's like one of my best friends. But I got my private pilot's license in 2018. And of course, my first passenger was this one right here, Kaylin, along with my mom. And, they're 2 of my biggest supporters in life. And again, so Kaylin and I ended up getting married. So again, more proof that, being a pilot does get you the girls.
Proof's in the pudding. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I got my private pilot's license, and shortly after that, I was obsessed with tail draggers from watching Trent and Corey. And later got my tail wheel endorsement in a J3, and I also did some couple hours in a Boeing Stearman. So
Ed, you mentioned obviously tail draggers piqued your interest clearly, and you now have one. So what made you pick? Well, we know what made you pick a tail dragger, obviously, but what made you pick the Pacer specifically?
You're the one that found it.
Yeah.
Right after we got married, for whatever reason, he just started looking at airplanes.
That's something you got to do.
He started watching TV. He was looking at airplanes, looking at airplanes, and you came across it.
Yeah, I was obviously when you start looking for airplanes, you want something that fits your mission. So I knew it needed to fit the both of us and the dog. And then I wanted something that was going to be, capable and get into short fields and with full fuel, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. Initially, I was looking at a Stinson 108-3. I thought they looked cool. They fit our mission, and I was trying to find one that was within our budget. But everything that was within our budget had fabric that was 40 years old, and that as much as they tried to doctor the pictures to make it look like it was a great airplane, in perfect condition, you could see all the spots that it maybe needed new paint or new fabric or whatnot. So as hard as I looked for a 108-3, there was always this pesky airplane that kept coming up in all my searches, and it was the Piper Pacer. And I was really turned off by the Pacer because it gets kind of a bad reputation for not being a great handling airplane on the ground. The one that kept coming up was actually the one that we ended up buying, and I didn't like it because it didn't have, just didn't have enough in it. It just felt like it only has like 4 or 5 gauges. I want something with a bit more. I want a artificial horizon and all the other garbage, and it just didn't have it. But no matter what I searched for, it always came up in the searches, and I said, well, maybe this thing is calling to me. So I reached out to the guy, and he was really eager to sell it, and I kind of played hardball, and I was like, nah, it's kind of too much I think you're asking a little bit too much. And he brought the price down, and we talked, and eventually we sealed the deal on it. And I think it was the best decision not the best decision we ever made. Obviously, marrying Caitlin was the best decision.
Good answer.
Good save.
Yeah.
Good save.
Best collective decision, I guess.
Right. It was a perfect decision because it does everything that we needed to do. It gets in and out of every little field that we've been in, full fuel, got great range. It's just the perfect airplane.
I know everybody that I know who has flown them or has one loves them. So I think they belong in the tail wheel configuration. That's my slight unpopular opinion. Little sneak peek for later.
I'm with you. I mean, there's a reason why people take the tri-pacers and turn them into pacers, because they look way cooler, and no one likes that little nose wheel on it.
So silly.
The tail draggers, they just have cool ramp appeal.
Oh yeah. There's some debate on whether or not they make you better pilots, but
There's one dude who says no. One dude who will be nameless. I will protect their identity tonight.
Brian Turner? No, was that a guy? No, I'm just
Excuse me.
but we're not saying anything.
It rhymes with try and burner.
So, Ed, I just out of sheer curiosity, why do you think the Pacer has that reputation of being having poor handling on the ground?
a lot of people that take the PA-22s, the tri-pacers, and convert them to the pacers, there's something with the way that when they change the gear, the main gear, it doesn't get aligned correctly, and then it makes for bad ground handling. So that's what I understand the reasoning behind it is. But I mean, ours is from 1950, so it has the original gear, which is a little bit. It's not as wide as the conversions are, or the later PA-20s. It's a bit more narrow, and I have not had any issues with it aside from when I first started. It's super controllable. I know what it's going to do at all times, and I've not had any issues with it.
I never even thought about that.
I suppose when you start modifying airplanes structurally, moving things around, you're going to lose some of those handling characteristics. It's not going to handle the same way that it was originally intended. So I guess that kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
With your Pacer, you guys been going to a lot of different airports, haven't you?
As many as we can.
You guys are doing the stamp collecting, right?
Yep.
I know Minnesota has something similar to that. What set you off on that mission to collect all those stamps?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we bought the plane in 2019, and then COVID hit shortly after we bought it in November. COVID hit shortly after that. It hit, and we thought, well, what are we going to do? And it was the perfect social distancing option for us because we could still fly, and the Fly Wisconsin Airport program has 126 airports, something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, more than you would think. And we're only at,
I think 32.
32 now? Oh, okay. There's
That's still a respectable number.
Yeah. We always, with the weather and with working full time, we don't get out as much as we'd like to. That's every year we're like, yeah, let's hit, because they have levels for prizes. And when you get up to the full amount of 126, you get a bomber jacket. So our goal is to get this bomber jacket.
Most expensive bomber jacket known to man.
Yep.
But bragging rights, right?
Yeah.
Bragging rights. And just, we really look at it as the adventure along the way. So we're not in any hurry. It's a lot of fun to take our time. Wisconsin has so much to offer, from Door County to last weekend. We flew out to Prairie du Sac. There's Wullersheim winery out there. And so he flew me out to a winery. I got to drink. He got to fly. So I think that's a fair compromise. Yeah.
Were you dealing with any unruly passengers, Ed, on the way back?
Not yet.
Okay.
I might have to have a conversation with the stewardess who's doing the handing out drinks during the flight.
I would recommend Veraqua. You ever been to that one? It's a Yankee 5-1.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
It's got a long and narrow 4,000 foot by 60 foot paved runway.
Okay.
But it's also got a 2,400 foot by 90 foot grass strip.
Ooh.
And it goes. And if you're taking off on runway 2, you'll go right over the highway because it's on a mound.
Oh, cool.
And so you literally, as long as you're off the ground, you'll meet the clearance. But it gets very close to like the semi trucks and whatnot going right underneath.
So we have one right by
I highly recommend.
Yeah, we have one right by us called Sturdivant, and it's a lot like that.
Or Sylvania.
Oh, Sylvania. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sylvania. Yeah, the Sylvania one is right over I-94, and they actually do a lot of skydiving there. And when we flew out there, it's a very short runway. I don't know what it is. It feels very short, and you take off. Well, we took off over the highway, but we had to get in around the other plane that they fly for
the Twin Otter.
We had to get in and out of that because they were just going up and bringing more skydivers up, and that was an interesting.
And where's this at?
Sylvania.
Yeah, it's just west of Racine Airport. Hopefully he doesn't mind me telling the story. But we have a
too late now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
won't say his name, but we have an EAA chapter member that was coming in. I think he had a Cherokee or whatnot. And he was coming in and for a landing at Sylvania, and it goes right over the highway, just kind of like the one you were talking about, Trevor. And he hit a semi-truck, ripped the gear off the airplane, and he had to belly land it into Sylvania. I guess the truck driver kept going. He had no idea anything even happened. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, what's this landing gear doing here?
What was it on the manifest?
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah, with the whole passport program, we've got some friends. One of the guys in our EA chapter, he's done like 5 or 6 of the states already.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he's got a whole like closet just full of bomber jackets. But a lot of people, what they do is they try to do it as fast as they can. So they'll just knock out like 20 or 30 airports in a day, and it's doable. It's not it's not
To each his own.
Yeah, to each their own. But the one thing that we wanted to do is just take more time to get there, maybe find something fun to do, promote the area, promote the airport, and just make it more about the journey of going somewhere, finding things to do versus just trying to do it in the fastest time possible.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, and you kind of covered it anyways, but like I like the idea of the journey along the way, because I mean, you're right. I've talked to plenty of people too that like, let's get our passport book all stamped up, and we'll just round robin as many airports in a day as we can. But I like you guys' approach that it's about the journey along the way too, and checking out the area, and
there's just so much to see and so much to do, and if you just went and tried to do it as fast as you could, you're going to miss out on so much that what's in your own backyard. I mean, Wisconsin's a cool state. There's so many neat things. We've got a ton of different aviation museums. We've got EAA, of course. There's one in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. There's one in Broadhead, Wisconsin, that's brand new that I still haven't even been to, that I want to check out so bad. But they're all over the place, not to mention all the cool airport diners and just, nature preserves, wineries,
My personal.
Yeah. There's alcohol involved. Caitlin's probably there. I'm just kidding. But yeah, our state has so much to offer, as does most other states as well. But
Does Minnesota have a passport program? Did you guys say that?
yeah, we do.
Yeah. Are any of you working on that? Or not right now? No.
I start working on it every couple of years, and then I get one stamp and a new passport book, and then I forget that I was doing it.
Yeah, that happens to some of our friends. Yeah. Go ahead, Trevor. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I started to, then it's just like, for me, all I've been doing is just time building. So it's like my typical route, I go to the same airports because you can't beat the $5 a gallon gas. But eventually I'll get to that point.
Yeah. I don't live in Minnesota anymore, so I can't.
Do they have one down there in Kansas, Maddie?
I don't know, but Kansas is boring, so...
No, it's not. It's the hub of aviation.
Boring flying here. It is just flat.
I think it's really what you make of it, and I think that you're not taking advantage of the airports in the area.
I like what you just fine. Some of the airports are really fun, but nothing can beat the upper Midwest. So beautiful. I miss it.
yeah, and everything's flat. So if you lose an engine, you have plenty of spots.
Plenty of fields. Yep. I tell my students, you can take the time to pick the best one, but at the end of the day, they're all fields. So have fun.
Except for like northern Wisconsin, we went to Eagle River, Wisconsin, and like once you get just north of Oshkosh, like everything changes and there's like trees everywhere. And I'm just like, every little noise that the engine was making that didn't sound like normal, I was like, oh crap, like start looking for a field.
I love
So
it.
what kind of planning do you guys put into your flights then? Because if we're, making it about the journey, I mean, is there a lot of planning that you put in before each adventure you go on?
No, I think it's kind of just about what do we feel like checking out.
Yeah.
Okay.
This weekend, we're actually going to be heading up to Minnesota. Which
Great
airport
state.
is it again?
Yeah. We're really heading out to your guys' home airport there.
You going to Anoka?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a great
I have
airport.
family. Yeah, I have family in the area, so we're going to fly there, and then our plan is to then kind of take our time back going through Wisconsin and ending actually in the UP because we have friends in the Marquette area that have a grass landing strip. So we're gonna kind of make a tour, weather permitting, and smoke permitting. I don't know today down here was it was just like a foggy day, but it was just smoke from Canada.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that clears out before the end of the week so we can fly to Minnesota and then kind of make our way back through Wisconsin.
Yeah, usually it's kind of spur of the moment. It just kind of depends what the weather's like.
Yeah.
And we've got like a little list of places that we want to check out at different airports. So, just kind of depends on how much time we have. If we have a weekend trip, we'll go further up north. Otherwise, if we just have a couple hours, we'll probably just go grab breakfast somewhere and hit a couple stamps on the way there or back.
That sounds like so much fun. So, you guys have a YouTube channel, which is so fun. How did you start that?
Well, I guess, just kind of going back to being the whole COVID project, where we're like, well, we want to do this airport stamp program, and how can we also inspire other people to do something similar? And the answer was YouTube. So we bought a couple GoPro cameras and stuck them onto the airplane and tried to learn how to do some video editing, literally on the fly.
I see what you did there.
It's just fun to record those adventures, and every now and then just have some good memories recorded. And hopefully people will join us along the way. But if not, it's great to have those memories recorded, because the footage and the memories are just really priceless.
Right. I mean, at one point, being an aviator, that one day it's going to come to an end. So one day you're not going to be able to do this any longer. And, for us, I guess the selfish reason is that we have something to document our travels and the things that we did when we were younger, to look back upon when we're old and crusty. So, but and then the other side to that though too is like, again, going back to trying to do something that's going to inspire other people to do something similar. I know that like within our own circle of friends, we've had other people that go and do stamp chasing now in Illinois, in Wisconsin. So it's kind of neat because, any given weekend where we have nice weather, I'll get text messages from a bunch of people saying, hey, look, we got a stamp at this airport. Or hey, when you come to this one, you got to check out this restaurant or this brewery and take home this beer. And so it's just been really cool to see other people enjoying what we are enjoying together,
I think that's an important thing to do this day and age. Everything is so go, go, go. And, well, I mean, there's only so much go you have in a pacer, so there's only so fast that you can get there anyway. But no, not a knock, not a knock. I think it's a good thing, actually physically taking a step back and just enjoy, as my mom would say, enjoying the journey.
Right.
So you're just having a good time getting there, and that's what's important. Right. I think it's great.
That's what everyone says. Like, well, wouldn't you want a faster plane? Don't you want something bigger? Do you want something faster? I'm like, no. Or just enjoying, just taking our...
If you ever become a millionaire, yes.
Well, yeah.
But until that.
One of my biggest inspirations was a YouTube channel called Tango and Juliet. And they were just these two, they were probably our same age now. I think they lived in California, and they were just a couple. And they would just go and they would do little fun trips together in a Cessna 120 or 140. And it was just they just kind of had that old school kind of like 40s, 50s style. And the way that they did their videos was just like so romantic. It's like being in an airplane together with your best friend, doing fun stuff. Like, that's exactly what I wanted to do, and that's what was one of my biggest inspirations was those two.
I do want to ask one other question. So you talk about you kind of learn on the fly about the creation and the editing of it, but I think that's something that maybe a lot of people don't think about, how much time it takes to take that content and create a really cool product out of it that you're proud of. What kind of time frame does it take you guys to turn around a video? Like, what kind of editing processes are you guys using?
Well, you started on your phone.
Yeah.
He literally would just do everything on his phone for probably the majority of the first 15 videos, maybe more.
Wow.
And then we finally invested in a laptop and kind of went from there. But I mean, with the video footage, you do get a lot. So you do have to go through a lot of footage. And he's the creator, and does all of that. So I give him credit for that. And I feel like each journey we learn something else, or find another tip, or bring another battery, or whatever it might be. As I'm sure you've experienced, sometimes the best stuff gets lost in what you're doing, and experience just helps you capture that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's been quite a learning curve. Again, like Caitlin said, I was using my smartphone for doing most of the editing. Because I was like, well, I don't want to buy a laptop. I'd rather use the money for avgas. But then eventually it's like the phone can only handle so much.
He's very stubborn about that.
Yeah. I have like 5 memory cards full of stuff. I'm like, well, my phone will not take 5 memory cards full of information. So I was like, well, let's grab a laptop. So learning the laptop and the new software has been quite a journey, but it's been fun. I mean, it's easier when I have like a vision in my head and I know what I want it to be like. That's easy. I can get a video done in like a weekend. But you know, if I'm trying to figure out what the story should be or how it should be edited and that's when it takes a little bit longer. And that's when I get frustrated because I just don't know how to piece it all together. And yeah, I always have a vision, but it doesn't always translate into my vision, but I try to get it as close as I can. It's a lot more work than what people think. I believe it was a lot more than what I thought. And I was like, oh man, why am I doing this again? I mean, you guys live in the Midwest too. You know that the weather's not always the greatest around here. So that when the weather sucks, that's when I'm editing. When the weather's nice, that's when we're out flying.
All right, guys, it is time. What is your unpopular aviation opinion?
Can't gonna do her because you're gonna hate me when I say mine.
Oh, good.
I feel like Top Gun Maverick was better than the original.
Yes, I agree.
Well, you got one fan with Maddie, apparently.
I hated the first one so much.
And I will say, because the original, you know, we had all the story build up, the characters. I just think it was well done. It was fun, edge of your seat, lots of cool aviation, but the characters in it were just, there was so much history with them from the original. So that's my unpopular opinion.
But could the second one be as good with the character development without the first one? Is this a chicken or egg situation, you think?
Yes, you are absolutely, yes.
Huh.
Yeah.
I like the second one a little bit better. Mostly because I thought that it was basically a volleyball movie where they threw some airplanes in it for the first one. That's my unpopular opinion for the night.
Okay, Ed, we need to know your unpopular opinion.
Oh yeah,
man,
Ed,
this one's gonna be a doozy. I feel like I'm gonna lose some fans here. So my unpopular aviation opinion is I think that the movie Airplane is overrated.
Good night, everybody.
You're right.
What were we talking about earlier about the floor comes out from underneath you if you answer a question wrong?
Well, I tried to watch it 2 times. I fell asleep both times. So
How did you fall asleep?
it just didn't do it for me. I don't know. It's
Must have
not
picked
the
wrong. Must have picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue, I guess.
Volleyball in it. I think that's why.
I have a new student. And our call sign was 15901 Victor, and he absolutely just went out and said 15901 Vector. I'm like, Vector, can I get a Vector?
What's our vector, Victor?
We're going to have to get through it.
Yeah.
So there are 3 there's 3 assignments it sounds like are on the table here. Trevor, Top Gun 1. Maddie, Wing and a Prayer. Ed, Airplane.
Highly
caffeinated.
First thing in the morning, 10 cups of coffee, give it another go. Just for you guys.
We appreciate it.
For our suffering, thank you.
Our jokes are going to make a lot more sense after you watch it and get to the whole movie. Do you guys have anything else that you want to cover before we call her a night?
No, we just appreciate you inviting us and letting us talk about aviation and our aviation family and friends. And thank you for letting us be a part of your podcast. We love listening to it and being a part of it.
Yeah, you guys. Well, I drive to the Chicagoland area, 3 days a week? So an hour of my 2 hours and some change of my day is spent in the car. So every time you guys have a new episode out, it's always nice to have you guys feels like you guys are in the car with me on my drive down to Chicago. So
yeah, well, it depends on who's in the front seat.
I'm going to be honest with you, Ed. I don't want to go to Chicago.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I
don't really like to either, so.
No, I'm going to need to be in the front. I'm going to need some sort of firearms to make this through. So.
So we appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you guys listening, and we wish you all the success with your YouTube channel and your aviation journeys as well. I enjoy watching your videos, so.
Thank you.
A mutual respect all around. Thanks again for coming on, guys.
You too.
Yeah, thank you. See you at Oshkosh, Maddie
See you
and
at
Trevor.
Oshkosh.
See ya.
No, Maddie and Jim,
Oh.
not Trevor.
Oh, Maddie
Me and Jim.
Oh, yeah, Trevor, you don't get to come. Okay, sorry. See you at Oshkosh.
You know how we do bloopers at the end of each episode? feel like you're gonna hear that again.
It's my bedtime.
Yeah, it's getting there. All right.
We
Just,
say that stuff like that all the time. It's okay.
just for funsies, well, let's do this round of Sia's again because I know that you really wanted to, and I want to hear it. So,
My favorite part.
all right. Well, let's hear it.
See ya.
See ya.
So,
See ya.
Thank you so much again to Ed, Caitlin, and Lala for joining us on this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
be sure to check out their content on their YouTube channel, Flying Stampede. They got some pretty good stuff out there. And also, thank you to Andrew, the Badger pilot, for joining us on this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. You'll be hearing him again from time to time on the Flying Midwest podcast, so something more to look forward to. Thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it myself.
This is going to be fun.
If you're looking for ways to support the Flying Midwest podcast, go ahead and check out the show notes. We've got all sorts of links to our sponsors, to our affiliates, our Patreon, and Flying Midwest podcast merch if you'd like to represent the podcast at your next aviation event.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram and Facebook and get in touch with us at flyingmidwestpodcast@gmail.com.
For your inaugural venture out with us, how about you take it away for us, Andrew?
You got it. Well, thank you, Jim and Maddie, for bringing me on and being a part of creating this great show. And I'm looking forward to doing it in the future. And to all the listeners out there, thanks for listening. And make sure you subscribe on all of your podcast platforms. And until next time, see you.
See ya.
See ya.
Flight Chef 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35 today.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.
I can stop being annoying. I'm not going to stop being annoying.
So these moments of commenty,
For coming on to the Midwest Cup. That's our name.
You totally know the name of this podcast. Kill it.
Yeah.
Is that the Midwest? Is that?
You.
The Wigwag podcast.
We podcast?
Wigwag podcast.
We podcast?
Sponsored by Wheeling.
You
Come
want to
find us on any of our social media. Oh my God.
You froze.
I just needed a minute to buffer.
Like for your computer to buffer or for you to buffer? What's happening?
Yes.
No, for my brain to buffer.
So the funny thing is I'm waiting for eye contact for like, is it my turn to talk? Are you expecting me to say something? But there's no eye contact in like a virtual video.
I'm looking at you right now.
You
Just
raise your hand. Oh no, you can't do that in this one. Never mind.
I mean, you can. You go like this. Maybe we can do a thing where we introduce some stuff. So, I'll do the welcome to the blah, blah, blah podcast. I'm going to put that in bloopers. Welcome to the blah, blah, blah podcast. I think you just
Okay, we're
did
using
it.
that. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Done.
I figured you needed to get to the gym.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Oh, shoot.
I forgot.
That was not
Look at the clock.
That was not a fat joke. That was a scheduling and time joke.
You know what? Either option, I appreciate it.
And thanks to Jim and Maddie for bringing me on to be a part of hosting the Flying Midwest podcast in the future. And thanks to all of our listening for... See, now you're interrupting me and breaking my...
Yes, I'm not the only incompetent one. All right, let's go. At it doing.
To give you an idea of my health and wellness strategies and capabilities and habits.
This should be good.
My sister-in-law is a nutritionalist, and she has told me that she refuses to take me on as a client.
I can stop being annoying. I'm not going to stop being annoying.